This lesson is going to focus on expressing fractions as percents. So we'll look at this problem here where Jane spent 1/4 of her money on a video game. What percent is that 1/4 of her money? Not how much, but what percent. So if we have 1/4, which is a fraction, we want to change it to a percent. Percent means per hundred, so we change it to hundredths. So 4 times 25 is 100, so 1 times 25 is 25. 25 per hundred is 25%. So she spent 25% of her money. In method 2, if she had spent all of her money, let's say this is all of her money, she would have spent 100% of her money. But she only spent 1/4, so I'm going to split this into 4 parts and mark off the 1/4 that she spent. And I want to know what percent this would be. So the whole would be all 4 pieces. It would be 4/4 would equal my 100%. Okay? So if we only want one of those parts, 1/4, then I just need to say what percent is 1/4. So 1 part would be 100 divided by 4, which is 25%. So this question mark would be 25%. Or another way to think of it, these 4 parts were worth, we call them boxes in the past, were worth 100%, and I only want 1/4 or 1 part. So 1 part was my 100 divided by 4, which is 25%. But either way, I've gotten 25% method 1 or method 2. Method 3 focuses on multiplication, because as you remember when we did multiplication, the word of a lot of times means multiplication. So she spent 1/4 of her 100% of her money, or she spent 1/4 times 100%. And when we multiplied fractions, this got put over 1, and I could reduce before I multiply if I want, or I could reduce after. If I multiply first, I get 100, 1 times 100 on the top and 4 times 1 on the bottom, which is 25%. Or I could have reduced first and made this be 1, and 100 divided by 4 would be 25, and I've gotten 25 over 1, which is still 25%. So you have to decide what makes more sense to me, method 1, 2, or 3. On this one, we want to change 3/4 to a percent. So I make my whole box here be all of it. If I had 4 out of 4, I'd have 100%. But this time I only want 3 of those 4 pieces. So how much is 3/4? Well, if all 4 parts here are worth 100%, then I could take the 100% divided by 4 to get 25% for 1 box. And so if this is 25, then I have 3 boxes is going to be 75%. So 3/4 equals 75%. The other method was to remember that 3/4 is what percent, so it's what per 100. 4 times 25. So then I have to take 3 times 25 on the top, 75 out of 100, which is 75%. So again, a couple methods that you could use to find that percent. Pause the video and try one of the methods to find the percent for 2/5. So one method says the whole thing is 100% again, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/5, but I only want 2 out of the 5 pieces. So 5 parts is 100%. 1 part would be 100 divided by my 5 boxes, which gives me 20%. So if 20 goes in each of these boxes, and I need 2 of them, 2 parts equals 40%. Or the other method says percent is per 100. So I set 2/5 equal to something out of 100. 5 times 20 is 100. So 2 times 20 is 40 out of 100. And anything per 100 means 40%. Same answer. What about when the denominator is bigger than 100? Well, we still need to get it down to 100 to be percent, because percent is per 100. So this time, instead of multiplying, I need to divide. If I take 500 divided by 5, that gets me down to 100. So I take the 100 divided by 5, and that gets down to 20. So 100 500s is the same as 20 out of 100. And 20 per 100 is 20%. Or the other method is to take 100 500ths of the 100%, which means times the 100%. And reducing first means this is over 1. So I can divide both of these by 100. And I get 100 over 5. Dividing that out, I get 20. So again, 20%, both methods. Pause the video and convert both of these fractions to percents. Percent means per 100. So in the first one, I need to multiply to get 20 to go up to 100 by 5. So 7 times 5 is 35 per 100. So 35% should have been your first answer. This one, to get 128 per 400 down to per 100, I've got to divide. So 128 divided by 4 gives me 32 per 100, so 32%. Let's try a story problem. A pizza place had 250 pounds of flour. On Thursday, they used 120 pounds to make pizza crust. The rest was used on Friday. First question, what percent of the flour was used on Thursday? Well, a percent is a part out of a whole, and so we don't have it out of 100 yet, but let's go with what we do have. We know that they used 120 out of 250 pounds. I've got to change that to a percent. And this one, to change it to percent, I need to get a denominator of 100, but 100 doesn't go evenly into 25. I could try reducing this down because I see they both have a 0 on the end of them. So I could divide them both by 10, knocking my 0 off is what dividing by 10 would do. So I could get 12 over 25. And then I could take 12 25ths times 100% for one method, or I could take 12 25ths and make it into how many hundredths is that? Well, this first method I could reduce 25 to 1, and 100 divided by 25 would be 4. 12 times 4 is 48. This method, 25 times 4 is 100, and 12 times 4 is 48. Either way, I have that 48% was used on Thursday. We should have written the sentence answer first. So the second one, we'll write our sentence answer first. Blank percent was used on Friday. Well, if the 250 pounds was 100% of the flour, and we used 120 pounds, we would have 130 pounds left, and that was also 48% of the flour. So the 130 pounds, if I subtract here, I would get 52% of the flour was left that was used on Friday. Or I could have changed my 130 out of 250, knocked it down to 13/25, and changed that to 100. And taking 13 times 4 is going to give me the 52 also. So you have to pick and choose the method that you want to use as you're doing these problems. Pause the video and try this story problem. 2/5 were sold before noon, so a percent means change it to 100ths, so times 20 would be 40 out of 100, so 40% were sold before noon. Should have had that in my answer. And then what's left? If there was 100% to begin with minus 40%, there would be 60% left. You might have also taken 2/5 times 100%, and that would change to 1, and that would change to 20, and that still comes out 40%.